okay, here we're in Toronto. Do you get what I'm saying? Like we're playing ball in Toronto. Imagine some boys flying out from Washington to come and deck us in our own house. Like, do you get what I'm saying?
Think about it. We lost our competition, but once we get home, we have to like. Do you understand this?
We're not broken. You can't break something. It's unbeaten. You're unbeaten.
Hey guys, welcome back to the pod. I'm with my guys as usual, Tosin, Andrew.
That's good, bro.
That's good.
And today, honestly, we're just going straight into, some of the managerial discourse we've been seeing of recent, some very, very impressive, call it records that different managers have set. We have like Fergie's 13 PL titles. We have Pep winning back to back to back to back. Premier League titles. You have Mourinho's 9-year unbeaten run at home. We have Ancelotti with 5 UCLs and most wins in UCL ever. And then you of course have Zidane's three-year back to back to back UCL
Champions League
titles, right? So and honestly, I would like to know what you guys think in terms of what I would say like the hardest ones to run back versus maybe the easiest ones. Obviously, I don't think any of these things are easy to do, but just obviously like contextually speaking, which one, maybe we should start with which one you guys think might be the easiest.
The easiest.
I don't think any of them.
Yeah,
in that context,
obviously, I know it's just
But relatively, they're all not easy as you said, but relatively, I feel like the easiest is the one that can be achieved like in a shorter span of time. So it will be the three-peat of the Champions League. It sounds crazy, but
I disagree.
It's three-peat.
Let's
the only one that is easiest to win. And why I say so is because I feel like Ancelotti or like a Real Madrid team, another Real Madrid team can do it again. Like they've done it before, they can do it again. This is not their second time. They've always done it, right? Initially, in the history of Champions League, when it was called the European Cup, Real Madrid won the first 5 in a row. So now somebody did it recently, Zidane, which obviously modern football, all that. In like another 50 years, 30 years, another manager can do it again with Real Madrid. So I feel like it's easier to do. It's not easier to do, but it's the one that I feel like it's more feasible to be done.
Okay. And before we move on to maybe Tosin, just so you know, I think there's only one manager that has done back-to-back Champions League, by the way. So not club manager. And the manager is from I think it's 990 season with Milan, some random guy, at least some guy I don't know. So back-to-back, there's no manager that has done back-to-back. Not Pep, not Mourinho, not any of these guys. So, I feel like back-to-back is definitely...
I'm not saying in this current generation. I'm saying in next generation is something that I feel would be easy for another manager to do. Not easy, but an amazing manager can do it. That's the only one. All of them are amazing. Oh. Let's remember that everything is astonishing. I'm just trying to let you know that because the reason why is in my own perspective. I'm just dealing with time. It's 3 years. Is the only one that is breakable quickly or even possible. The other ones require certain level of commitment, constant dedication, and everything is like for a long period of time. It's not just like, we hit a form for 3 years and we're good. Like that's kind of possible. Teams hit great forms for 3 years. You can have an amazing squad and do well for 3 years. We've seen that happen with so many clubs. But to hold that kind of consistency for a decade or close to a decade is scary. And that's why I feel shorter ones are easier to achieve than the longer ones.
Yeah. No, fair
but in that case, I think, and that's why Andrew, I feel like that's why we love you on this team, man, because like you always have like a very different perspective.
When I was speaking my perspective, I was like, you guys are going to go this route.
Of course, but
Yeah,
To
just
your point, I just feel like because no other team has even come close to achieving that, I think that has to be one of the most unbreakable ones. I feel like that has to be one of those ones where, football is such a dynamic sport where it's like you can never really get the same 11 back in the same team like consistently. Like there's so many injuries, there's like older players moving out of the team, there's younger players breaking in, right? So you can never really build a squad that competes in the Champions League, and you're never playing the same opponents. Like you can't like get used to the tactics of your opponents, which is why it's so hard to beat so many different teams in 3 different seasons. Like I think
Okay, so
during
what
that
do you
span of
think is the
time.
easiest?
wait, Tosin, but before you give that, I will say
Mhm.
one thing though. I don't think it's the easiest, but if I was ranking 1 to 5, it would definitely be fourth for me.
So would be your five? That's the question now. Let's first know your
Ancelotti's record of
to
Yeah,
win
winning
five.
champion. He has,
yeah,
yeah,
easily. I think easily. I won't even lie, like easily, and
like Kyrie. Sorry, for
yeah,
example, like we have so many managers that have been in that position but just haven't been able to pull it off. Like Klopp has been in the Champions League final three or four times. I think 4 times with Liverpool in the past 5 years, or 3 times. I may be wrong,
no,
right?
definitely not four, maybe three at
So he
most.
played twice against Madrid, and he played against Tottenham.
Tottenham, yeah, so yeah, maybe
Okay,
three,
so
but
3 times.
yeah,
But then, yeah, like he's already put his team in that position to win. He was there with Dortmund. Like these are things that could happen with different managers, like that coach different teams. Like Pep could also be again at the end of his career could probably equal that number or even like go past it. So we're looking at a situation
Pep has
where
how many now?
it,
Two.
three.
three,
How
two with
many?
Barca and no, one with Barca, one with Bayern.
No, he
No,
didn't
no,
win
it
with
doesn't
Bayern. He has
require.
two.
Yeah, no,
Where did
two
you
with
get the
Barca.
three
Two,
from?
no, no, two, no, no, two with Barca and one with Man City.
Which
He has
years
three.
were the ones with Barca?
Bro, I can't remember the years, but Pep has three
The one.
Champions League titles.
Wait, I remember Barca won in with Messi's header against Man U. Was that
He
Pep?
won twice with Barca, bro. Trust me.
If that was Pep,
I
then
checked
yes, it's
already.
twice with
He has
Barca.
three. He has three. He has three. He has two with
We
Barca,
we agree. We just want to
one
know
with
which
Man City.
years. We agree. We just want to know
I
which
don't
Yeah.
know
years.
the I don't know the exact
Okay.
year, but he has three.
Okay. So wow. ChatGPT does make a lot of mistakes, but yeah, Pep has 3 Champions League titles. First one was in 2008, 2009.
Can't say header.
They beat Man U, and the second one they
Man
beat Man
U,
U
yeah,
again.
Yeah,
2010,
12.
2011, 3-1.
Yeah,
Pedro, Messi,
Chicharito.
and
Yeah.
VS
yeah,
scored the goals. Yeah.
yeah,
So and then the third one was with Man City, which
Okay,
yeah.
was
then that's three.
So my reason going with Ancelotti as well is, again, Pep has three, Zidane has three, and I feel it's not wild to think any of those guys can still win two more. Zidane has barely coached, so let's imagine Zidane decides to coach for 10 more years, depending on the team. I don't think it's that insane for us to think that he can win two Champions League titles,
Okay.
right? And again, this is not a consecutive thing, it's just winning two
Yes, yes.
titles, right? And then again, unless Pep, I feel like Pep is not winning two more with Man City for sure, or even I doubt he's winning one more, but that is also still very possible.
Mhm.
But assuming he moves on to a different team, again, it just depends on how long more Pep wants to manage for. He's still, there's still room there, and again, we're assuming Ancelotti isn't adding to that. And then lastly, before you go, Andrew, the wins, I think for wins, Pep is 6 wins behind, 6 wins behind Ancelotti for most wins in Champions League history. So again, those I just don't see that as, like, as unbreakable as the other records that are currently there. But yeah,
So I think with your points, you've kind of swayed my thinking to okay. Aside from time, now we have to look at consistency and streak. So because this is not a streak, definitely this can be broken. This can be broken
Yeah.
in there like easily.
Yeah,
But that
we're not
streak,
putting a time frame on it. Yeah,
yeah,
we're
so
not
that
putting like,
is that
oh,
streak
yeah.
that makes it a bit different. So
Tricky.
yes, this would definitely go to my five, to my number five as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Because
so what will
because
be your
streak is
four?
like four. I think four for me is Zidane's back to back.
The three-peat?
Yeah, I think for me, yeah, like it's just a thing of the other three. I just rate highly, or I think I had that. Um, so I don't really have any. I don't really have any points to any point to prove that Zidane's back to back to back, is not that hard to accomplish. But I just think the other three are harder to accomplish.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I feel like the other three, it's because they're longer streaks. No, well, the one of them is not necessarily a streak, but it's just a very long record.
Yeah,
So I just feel like that might be a bit harder. But in my opinion, yeah, definitely three-peat of Champions League. If you get a team that does it right, yeah, they can definitely push through and get that.
yeah,
Um,
um,
I would beg to differ on that one. I think Guardiola's four peat with the Premier League could be broken because Fergie has done three, and I believe he did that twice as well.
Yeah, insane.
So you know, I think it's more about being in the position of having the best players and having a club that's willing to invest a lot of money into a team. I think that's where, a team can be dominant for a specific period in time. Again, I don't want to work with hypotheticals, but if Pep wasn't in the Premier League, I would have I would say that Liverpool could have achieved like a similar like feat to that because I mean for 3 or 4 years we were competing with them right where they were. Even Arsenal at the point where they are right now, like they've been competing with City, and typically in the Premier League, it's possible to run away with the title if other teams are not ready from the start. Right? I think Man City almost feels like you're chasing a ghost because at some point during the league they're going to just pick up points consistently and you have to keep up with them. And I feel like teams that have been able to figure that out can always implement the same thing year after year after year until another team has, enough money to kind of like shake things up. But Pep has done it, but we've also seen other managers come into a league and completely dominate, right? Because like again, like I said, it's different from like the Champions League um fixtures where like you don't know who you're facing, you face them home and away. Here you kind of know who you're playing against and you can afford not to shift your tactics. You can just have a specific style of play and play that way against most teams in the Premier League and you can find a way through that. But Champions League, you do have to adjust your style of play most times and we always talk about Pep having issues with that. But we've seen him dominate in every single league and he's done that again. But I think other coaches have a chance to do that as well. So that would be
No, I
number
hear
four for
you.
me.
I hear you. I
But
hear
you're not
you.
swayed.
I'm not swayed on that,
yeah,
but I hear you. I hear you still.
yeah,
I know he
yeah. I
has like
think
you very, very, very heavy facts there that you drop, but like I'm still on my. I feel it's busy in for me.
yeah. I mean, I guess transitioning to my next one, which would be Pep. Well, I completely disagree with most of the things you said, just because I feel like as easy as I guess there's a reason why only Pep and Guardiola have dominated or done at least a three-peat.
You say Pep and
Pep
Um,
Guardiola,
and,
they're the same
Pep
people.
I
and
mean, sorry,
Ferguson.
Pep and Fergie. Sorry,
I was so
the
scared.
reason Pep and Fergie have done that, right? Like when you look back at Fergie, what Fergie did in the '90s, for instance, right? There was the competition was not there like that. Do you get what I'm saying? Like when you look at the number of say single digits league wins or like within 5 points, like when you start making those comparisons, you see, which is where I give Pep, some props because doing that, four pits in the Premier League of today, Liverpool, I think Liverpool finished with 90 something twice, right behind them. Arsenal finished 2 points behind. Liverpool finished 1 point behind. Do you get what I'm saying? Like those are like very, very high pressure competition from those guys. But with Pep, I'm sorry, with Fergie had a lot of like landslide victories. Like not until the likes of Mourinho entered the league where like he started getting real competition, and then obviously Wenger at certain points of I guess of Wenger's career. But outside of that, again, I feel like the competition for Fergie was not great, compared to Pep today. And that's why I don't think that's normal. What Pep has done is not normal. I don't think any manager can have everything Pep has and still not win back to back Premier League titles. So I feel like again I'm kind of propping up the what he has done, but at the same time, it's like I guess the angle you're coming from, I don't entirely agree with the maybe like the okay it being easier than maybe something like back to back to back from
So
Zidane. But anyways, that'll be my
Yeah,
third.
no, so I think what he's maybe I know you obviously heard him and everything, but I feel like he like to hammer more on his point. He said, there's a let's say you're a manager now and you've been in a league for however long. There's going to be a span where or like a window where, for example, as you said with Fergie, things will get easier, right? Let's say you are Alex Ferguson, you are you are the coach of Manchester United. Things are amazing. Other managers are not on your level. So while those other managers and clubs are getting shit done, they are figuring it. They are going through all these projects. You are just on your own flight, just collecting it, bang, 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 till they get things done. Which is how leagues are. Leagues go through transition phases and all of that. So that period, you can essentially win 4-5, whatever, right?
Yeah,
That is
but
what
I don't
he's
think.
saying. But he's saying in
Yeah, I know, I
Champions
know,
League,
no.
in Champions League, you don't really get that break because every season there's a surprise. It's always different. It's always different. But in Premier Leagues or in leagues, you are familiar with your opponents, right? Things might be different, but you're more or less familiar with them rather than in Champions League. That's what he's saying. That's why I said he made some
Yeah,
good points, but it still didn't sway me because I'm still on the opinion of 3 and 4. You can, 3 years is very short.
yeah,
It's shorter than 4 years. So that's just why I'm still choosing UCL. But that's a valid point in my opinion. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
why not?
I don't think. I mean, I don't think that isn't a
You
valid
also
point.
proved the
So
point because you said like at the moment Pep's challenges, even Pep himself has been having struggles in Champions League, but Pep's challenges in the Premier League is or was Liverpool and Arsenal throughout these 4 years. But his challenges in the Champions League is not the same that he was facing in the Premier League. He faced several different kind of coaches, several different kind of tactics, several players, and out of all the struggle, he's been in in Man City for over 5-6 years or maybe even 8 years now. He was only able to win it once with this amazing team he had, with this dominating team he's had. He's only been able to win it once because anything happens in Champions League. You can meet Real
yeah,
Madrid on a good day, on a bad day. But if you're familiar with Arsenal, Arsenal will just come and defend, or Arsenal will come and collect five, or those kind of
Yeah.
things. You have an idea of who your opponent is. That's what
yeah,
he's
yeah,
saying, which is valid,
And
right? But it's still, how
yeah,
long?
and Andrew, you may not know this yet, but I think you're swayed because you understand exactly what I'm trying to point
yeah.
out. But
Yeah,
I'm
what
straight.
no, but here's the thing, right? And Kaide, Fergie was also able to do the three-peat in the 2000s as well. So,
Yeah,
like, there's context. So, Chelsea was good during that time. Arsenal, Wenger was there, obviously. Um, Liverpool, I'm not sure we had either, like, um,
yeah. But those guys
Enrique
so that was
were
your
or
as.
Benitez period.
Yeah, but
Benitez. Sorry, yes.
those guys
2005
were
when we
no,
won the
no.
Champions League.
Mourinho
Like,
wasn't there for the span of that.
Mourinho was there.
what you,
Mourinho
Moreno
joined.
was there. Moreno
No,
was.
no, 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 not all three pit seasons.
Yeah, but that happens in like even in Guardiola's four-peat, like there are managers that were in and out and stuff
Yeah,
like
That's
that.
what
yeah, yeah,
So
I know, but I'm
I'm saying.
just saying like,
And the fact that they have to change that whole because when you change to a new manager, you have to rebuild, do project, all of that. Fergie is just there collecting it. Arsenal is going through,
And
we're changing stadium, all
Yeah,
of that. We're
but I
struggling.
yeah,
don't I don't think, again, obviously I don't know that for a fact, but like I just don't think we're going to see something like that again from two angles of, okay, I don't think, like, managers like Fergie and Pep just don't come about. I also don't think we'd see like, once Pep leaves the league, for instance, I just don't see a team in the Premier League that would dominate so much that no one else can win
and I'll give you, I'll give
one
you,
year.
I'll give you another, I'll give you another reason why. Because, and you and I speak about this all the time. In the process of teams growing, they always try to figure things out, especially in the managerial position, right? No manager has the time or the trust of the owners and fans to know that I'm going to be in this position for 10 years. Like that's not an expectation from a coach anymore. Like you can sit there and think, oh, maybe Tuchel was building something at Chelsea, or maybe they had some difficulties. Like Fergie was at Man U for 20 plus years. Wenger was at Arsenal for, I think, 20, almost 20, or
Yeah, Wenger has the most games in EPL history
so
as a
so when you
manager.
think about those years, Pep I think has been the longest manager in the Premier League, like so far, right? Since
As
he
of
joined Man
today,
City.
yeah,
So when coaches like that have, like I said, like first point I brought up was like the support of the team. They need financial backing as well. They're in a position where they can figure things out and establish themselves in a league. Because, for example, Kaide, you and I know that Pep is not losing most of his games to the bottom half of the league. Like
hmm,
that's something that you can just sit down at home and like we're going to play our game and these guys cannot beat us. Like that is just how the league works for
yeah,
certain teams, right? And then you battle out the rest with the top six. The top six has stayed the same. Like you're still competing against the same people. Again, we're arguing based on the fact of what do you think is more attainable. I'm not saying it's
yeah,
easier. I'm not saying it's easy what they've done, but based on the league, like I feel like there's also going to be a point where maybe Ancelotti or one of these guys have a chance. But honestly, if Pep steps out of Man City, Arsenal are going to be a force to be reckoned with for the next 8 to 10 years.
yeah. But I like, they can Arsenal no fit. But I don't, like, I understand what you're saying. I agree with, like, I think those are valid points. But I would stand with
Yeah,
with Pep's for Pete being harder, because again, I just don't see, like, like, it's almost like, even with Fergie, for instance, right? Like, Fergie had, even in the 90s, he won 6 in 8 years, for instance, right? But you just tend to have that one off year of, like, maybe you're even bored, or one team just decides, oh, we're giving our all for this year, just this one year, right? So it will just, you can be the best team in the league undoubtedly for 10 years, but doesn't mean you're going to win 10 years in a row, right? So I
True.
just feel, I'm looking at it just more from an angle of, more, for you to win four in a row and no one will just upset you one of those years, I just feel it's harder for that to happen
yeah.
again.
Honestly, Liverpool tried, and you and I
We were
can
close.
testify.
We were so close.
We
Like, in
can,
any other year, Liverpool would have won. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah,
that, it just went in City's favor. You get, because,
and
bro, 90 points.
yeah, and we can also testify to the point that, like, if we're being honest, I think Liverpool were the only team competing with Man City those years. Like Arsenal, I think the
In the
last
last 2 years.
2 years,
Yeah,
like obviously have put in like much more of a bigger fight. But if we're looking at, let's say, the past 10 years or whatever, how long Pep has been in the
yeah,
league, like the competition has been between Liverpool and City. Like
yeah,
Man
yeah,
U haven't kept a coach that can actually fight for the title. Chelsea, they've been in this restructuring phase for quite some time
yeah,
now. And Arsenal, like obviously with they're honestly overachieving. Like if we're
yeah,
being completely honest, like Arsenal with the team they have, they are definitely overachieving. I know Andrew's going to come back to this
yeah.
at the end of the season, but
but
I'm
guy,
just
like,
looking at it.
and Tosin, like, even with how like we can all admit like this City team, like we've seen City under Pep on average, you can argue like they are one of the best teams. You know, there are certain lineups for City for certain seasons that you can argue like, oh, this might be the best. You know, this is a
Assembled
top
team.
three. Yeah, this is a top three Premier League of all time type of squad. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And despite that, obviously we don't have time to go into that, but it's like to your point, like when you're looking at Liverpool and how those seasons played out, like so many things aligned for City for them to be able to go four in a row,
Trust me.
even with how good that team was. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's just again like what are the chances of a team as good as Pep's team coming about again, then everything aligning for them for 4 years straight. Do you get what I'm
Because
saying? But
if you think about it, City, even in those years, and again, I'm not swaying back to your point, but
yeah,
we're having a good
no,
discussion here.
yeah,
But
yeah.
even in those years, a lot of those wins for City were quite close. Like the one of Liverpool, I think there was one on the last day. Arsenal's title charge with them last season was also on the last day.
Yeah.
So I remember Vincent Company scoring
Company
a
yeah, against
goal
Leicester.
against Leicester, and I'm like,
Yeah,
why is
bro.
Vincent Company shooting
Yeah,
from
bro.
outside the
Yeah,
box?
bro.
And there was another, there was another one where they were down 2-0 and they came back and they won 3-2. And then
No,
like
man.
you see how much honestly the biggest point you've made is the fact that every single season in those years they found a way to compete. But when you have a psychopath like Guardiola, you can
Yeah,
see why that's possible because
yeah,
he did it at other teams as well. So we know it is a Pep thing, but again, I think it's possible just because of the type of league style that
yeah,
other teams have like Bayern have done it that in their league, PSG have done that in their league. So I think it's possible
yeah,
for if a coach comes in with the backing of um, the owners and stuff, it's possible. But yeah, that's my fourth one.
yeah.
Um,
So I
Okay,
guess you guys should
so
give
no, you giving your we've all given our bottom three, right?
no,
uh,
we've not. No,
no, we've
I've given bottom. I'm the one that has given my bottom three. You guys have just given two.
Oh, so yeah, I think I was with you on your third
Pep.
as well. Your third was
Okay.
Pep. Yeah, Pep is also my third.
Yeah. So
I feel
Tosin,
like
who do you have for third?
wait, sorry,
um,
what are the other three? Sorry,
So we
we
have
have Pep, we have
Fergie's
Fergie.
13, Fergie, Mourinho, and Pep.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, Pep is the one. Pep. Yeah, Pep is
yeah.
my
So
third.
mine would be
Zidane.
Zidane. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Zidane would
Sorry, yeah. I think we've
so
already given our three.
Yeah. Okay. So I
three
guess
chapters.
we're all
Yeah.
in agreement for top two. Before we go
Drum roll.
into this top two, I feel like obviously once you give your two, it's kind of giving away your one, right?
Yeah.
But I guess I wanted to just highlight one or two things. Um, so especially with Fergie, right? I think Fergie's 13 PL titles is insane. And then obviously Mourinho's 9 year home run to is insane. Like with Mourinho, like I feel like there isn't even much to say there in terms of like, bro, you went 9 years without losing at home. Do you get what I'm saying? Like
I was about to say,
that's
should we give
insane.
like our shout outs to the other like mentions or the other records that were not able to make this top five list before we give our final two?
Sure, why not?
Okay, so shouting
Take it,
out
take it,
obviously
Andrew.
49, 49, 49 is crazy. Unfortunately, we're not doing games for in a season or in 2 seasons, however the case might be. But 49 games unbeaten is also a record I feel is unbreakable. Maybe in another lifetime. 49 games in a season or in a premier or in a particular competition, unbeaten, unbreakable. Also highlighting Xabi Alonso's 51 games in all competitions, unbeaten, which I think the actual record is 56 games by Juventus. I'm not sure what the manager was then, but there was a streak where Juventus went 56 games in all competitions unbeaten. But of recent, Xabi Alonso did it last season as well, which is an amazing record. I think those two are my
Yeah.
highlights that didn't make it to this top
Don't
five.
forget Mourinho's 15 games. I mean, 15 goals considered.
Oh,
I
also
think that's. I
Jose
think that's. I
Mourinho's
think that's
15
what.
goals
I think
conceded.
that's what a shout out to.
Yeah,
Liverpool actually. I mean, I don't know if the word is came close, but there was the Chelsea home. I think it was 80 something games, like unbeaten at home, which Mourinho started obviously, or at least did a bulk of. And then we went a couple, maybe one more season or two more. I can't remember. You know, kind of holding on to that record, and we ended up with 86. I think Liverpool actually were the ones that broke that um broke that record
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
took away our whatever. And I think Liverpool is second with maybe 60 something games. And I think those are also pretty impressive records because that's going like 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons not losing a game at home. But yeah, so I
yeah.
guess going back
Our top two.
to our top two.
Let me give a drum
Um,
roll first. Oh yeah,
okay,
are you
so
ready?
I'm going to say I have in number two. I'll give my number two and just say give you a couple reasons, and you guys can go. Um, how I'm conflicted because this reason I'm about to give, like some of it would kind of give props to the record, but obviously some of it would speak to why I think maybe it's beatable. But my number two is Fergie's 13 PL. And the reason I'm saying Fergie's 13 PL is I think winning 13, like one manager winning 13 league titles in the same league is insane. I actually don't think that's ever going to happen again, but not because it's that impossible. It's because I don't think any manager is staying long enough in a league to have the chance at 13, right? Someone like Pep, for instance, for me, if Pep spends the same number of years Fergie has spent in Premier League, I think he beats that record, right? Obviously that's just an hypothetical. We can like I can't prove that, right? But Fergie has I think about 800 games in Premier League, right? 13 PL titles. Pep is next with six, and he has about 300
Hmm.
games. So obviously, just going by those numbers, like if Pep was to play 500 more games, he has a shot at that record. So that's I feel like that's kind of my reasoning. And when I was looking into this, like it's actually amazing that Fergie has 13, Pep has six, Mourinho and Wenger have three, and everyone else has one. So it's like all the
Like,
great
yeah, yeah.
all the great managers you can think of that have managed in the Premier League have won. Do you get what I'm saying? Again, that I think that shows how much more difficult that that record actually is to have 13. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, I think that's who I would have in my second place. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I I was very conflicted as well. And your point of Pep having a similar amount of time to what Fergie did is very, very like critical to this conversation because Fergie had, I think, 27 years,
26.
26. Guardiola is definitely winning like 15 Premier Leagues in 20 something. Like, I can guarantee that, So I think that would be the second for me. And
Yeah.
like we mentioned earlier, like there wasn't that much competition because for you to win a three-peat twice in two like different like decades is almost like people were pretty much not even sure. And again, that was just a three-peat twice. Like he was still winning like between that time as
Those
well,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Those years.
Um,
So I think that would be second for me as well
yeah.
because I don't see how again. My first one being that Mourinho um, didn't lose at home for 9 years. I think that's just like
Yeah.
insane
And
because you don't go into 9 seasons with that kind of mentality, right? So I think that was just I think that is impossible again to break, to be honest. But
yeah,
yeah,
and before you go quickly, right? Like again, I think the hardest part of Fergie's record is being in a league long enough
yeah,
to have the
managers
opportunity,
don't get that anymore.
right?
So
And so maybe for that reason, it might never be done again. Probably no, would never be done again. To be very honest,
and who
um,
even loves the game that much to stay in the
in
same team
one
for
play,
20
do you get what I'm
like
saying? Yeah, and it's just like with the competition thing as well. I feel that's a big part of it as well. I'm not trying to say, oh, every time Fergie won a title, like there was no competition or the teams were trash. But I feel when you're comparing for some of those seasons, you know, like Fergie has, and obviously to his, you give him props for that as well. But then again, it's like so many seasons there were double digits. Second best team was Newcastle. Newcastle was the second best team so many times, especially for his earlier titles. You get what I'm saying? It's like, when I'm considering all those things, not to say Pep hasn't had seasons where he just blew past everyone. Like even when Klopp won his, like I'm pretty sure it was over 10, well over 10 points, right?
yeah.
That happens. But again, when a good number of your titles, by game week 31, 32, we know you've won the league. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, then it's hard for me not to point out that, okay, the competition is just not good enough. Do you get what I'm saying? But yeah, sorry, Andrew, you can give us your take.
So obviously, just the way I have always been on this podcast, I wouldn't like to go with the obvious and stick with but I'll just say this before I give my take. I feel like one record is more fragile and one allows for more errors but deals with more consistency. Right? Losing a game can break Mourinho's record. Just a game. It can be a mistake, it can be a corner kick, it can be a free kick, it can be anything. Right?
Could
And
be
he just
bad
loses the
refereeing.
record. It could be bad refereeing. It could
Literally,
literally be anything. Red card, injury, so many things can
Yeah.
happen to lose it, to lose the streak. So it's a very, very fragile record, right? It's not something that, honestly, it's not something that can be done again. Like, even the fact that it was done, if you tell kids later on, they will tell you you're lying. Like, it doesn't make any sense. If you think about it, doesn't make any sense. The
Okay,
fact
this
that
guy
he
is
didn't
nine
do it
years.
in the same league is also like ridiculous. So it's not like, oh, it's Premier League or it's Farmers League or is he did it in Madrid. He did it in he started district with Chelsea, continued in
Yeah.
Madrid, and I think he went on to Inter Milan
Inter.
or Inter Milan then Madrid or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like that's insane on his own. You've gone to 3 countries and you're not losing at home. Like, bruh, what's going on? You can't
and
say,
was this
oh, it's the
was this just
fans.
in the league? Was this just in the
Yeah,
league or
league
like
Yeah,
games.
in
No, league
league
games.
games?
Yeah,
league
Okay,
just
games,
league
yeah.
games.
yeah.
So it's like you can't say, "Oh, is it fans?" You can't blame one factor aside from the common factor, which is him, right?
Yeah.
You can technically blame Fergie's on. Oh, he had some players; they were amazing. He was getting backing from this is a monopoly. All of that, all of that, all of that. You can think about it that way. But
Fergie time. Shout
Fergie's,
out Fergie time.
yeah, you can say it's corruption, all those things. But when you think about the record, still, as Kade implied, okay, 26 years. That alone is a long time. There's managers that don't even get the opportunity to coach for 26 years. There's managers that don't even do 5 years, like Villas Boas is now
Bro,
a president.
let's talk
So,
about a team.
there's 13 and now winning. So winning 13 on its own is insane. So technically, every other season he
Every
won
other
one.
season,
So zero point
yes.
0.5. That's his rate. That's an amazing record, right? So definitely that is also astonishing. This is also something you would tell people and they wouldn't believe like later on in life. Like how does a manager always win? And the fact that he did double three-peats is insane as well. Like who's doing that? Who's doing those kind of numbers? Right. So in my opinion, right, just to end this segment, I'll say the one number one for me is definitely Mourinho's zone. Just because it's just too fragile. Fergie could lose games, win games. He could lose a game today and correct the mistake tomorrow. He could pay the right ref for the next game. He can do the right things to make things work to win the league. But Mourinho never had anything on his side, right? If you say, oh, it was because of Chelsea billionaire money, blah blah blah. Okay, fine. He went to Inter Milan that was struggling, and he did it there. So you can't even say, oh, is anything there? And then he went to Real Madrid that was being dominated by, as we've been calling it, Pep Guardiola, and he did it there. So it's like you can't really blame a factor, and you can't say there's any like bias or anything. This is clear hard work, and this is like determination. Because in those 9 years, he didn't win the league. He didn't win 9 league titles, but he was winning at home, meaning that in locker rooms he was making it known to these players like, yo, I don't know what you guys are doing, but we're winning this game, or we're drawing, we're not losing here. Like whatever you guys are doing, I don't care. I don't care about if you're eating breakfast or lunch. Today you are winning or you're drawing. We're not leaving the stadium without a point. That is not easy to like do.
To that point as well, Andrew. I guess about it being very fragile. If we're just looking at modern day now, where like Pep has gone on mini 20-something home games, like we've seen Liverpool do the same, and when we see the games they lose, it's hardly ever to a worthy opponent.
Yeah, it's a mistake. It's always a mistake.
Exactly. To everything you're saying, where you're just like, bro, like I cannot believe they just lost this game. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's like now you have to consider the fact that even those games, when Mourinho was doing his 9-year thing, he had to overcome such games. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm sure Mourinho had games in there where his team was a man down at some points, or the referee wasn't calling in his favor. Like something that would make them at a heavy disadvantage. But as long as it's at home, there's this extra drive with Mourinho where it's just like, bro, like this is a fortress. Like we don't lose games here. That same game would happen elsewhere and they would lose that game 3-0.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? But the fact that we're at home, like bro, like I remember watching Chelsea games, there's a certain level of confidence where you're just like, we don't have those, like we never had that level of confidence outside of Stamford Bridge in certain situations where it's just like, we're 2-0 down, 78th minute. This one is done. But Stamford Bridge, 2-0 down, you're just like, bro, we're not losing this game. You get what I'm saying, right? And it's just, like I feel like it takes a manager. To your point, it's not just a thing of like how good the team is or the tactics and all that. Like I feel like you must have said some things to those guys that they are scared of. They are scared of losing at home. It's like, if we lose this game, this guy might actually kill us.
and being able to implement that in 3 different teams is kind of insane. Like it's a different mentality of sport that I think is impossible to get to. Like I don't think other coaches would ever be able to kind of force that mentality into every single player on the team, because every single player on the team has to buy into a message like that, where it's like, we are not losing at home. Like it doesn't matter if you're a sub, it doesn't matter when you come in, it doesn't matter like who's on the pitch, who we're playing against, we are not losing at home. That's just next level.
And I think that's where, this is kind of off topic-ish, but I think that's where Mourinho has kind of also struggled or fizzed out as a manager to a certain extent, or as, one of the best in the world. Is I feel like the kind of mentality he needs to
doesn't exist in modern football.
Doesn't exist anymore.
Don't exist anymore. So it's like that approach of like
do or die,
almost like a Conte, almost like a Conte thing. Like Conte is similar to that, right? These Gen Z guys are just like they're just going to look at you and laugh.
The media doesn't even allow you to do that. The media doesn't allow.
Like you're tripping, bro.
For example, there was an interview last week where Patrice Evra said the way Alex Ferguson was treating them, now it will be cancelled. It will literally be cancelled in a second. Like the things he said to them in the locker room, the way he treated them. He said like, now these modern age human beings, he would have been cancelled a long time ago. Someone would have just recorded it, put it online, and that's all.
literally, like,
Because-
and even not just that, just the style of football that Mourinho played. Like, now we have games where Arsenal, has a defensive system against Man City, and people are complaining. Mourinho played that way in every
Guy,
other game,
bro,
and fans,
Mourinho convinced Drogba and Eto in their primes to be doing. You can see Eto at left back. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Where it's like, Omo, this game, I'm dying here. Do you get what I'm saying? Imagine trying to convince Haaland today to do something like that. Do you get what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
all these guys, they're not listening to
And
all
that's
that,
that's
bro.
that. These are league games. Like, these are games that have little to no effect on, like, the grand scheme of a player's career, right? But I feel like for those players, every single game was a defining moment for them. It's like we're playing against a team like Wolves or whatever. Like, we are beating Wolves at home. We're not losing to Wolves at home. But then
Yeah.
that doesn't exist anymore. Like if you, again, like you said, the other records that have been broken is things that you don't expect, like a team losing by a huge margin to another team, and just like, oh, there goes our record. No,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
like, there was never a thing like that, because the manager made sure before going into every single game at home, they understood what they were fighting for, right? I think that level of commitment no longer exists even within managers nowadays. It's like, how do you convince your team that they can't lose at home for 9 years? What do you tell them in every single game at home, that, hey, this is our home? Like, there has to be a certain
Yeah.
level
You
of
have to already
pressure
yeah.
and and fear that they have, like, already within them, that allows them to continue that
Yeah.
kind of, like,
And I think even like
legacy.
they have to have a certain level of pride for the team, which I'm sure Mourinho probably did a great job at. Was just like, Omo, this is Chelsea, this is your team, this is your home. Nobody can come in here and deck you. Do you get what I'm saying? Nobody can come in here and take points from you. Like, I feel like those players started feeling at some point like at Real Madrid, at Inter Milan was just like, Omo, it's like, okay, here we're in Toronto. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, we're playing ball in Toronto. Imagine some boys flying out from Washington to come and deck us in our own house. Like, do you get what I'm saying? So I
Yeah,
feel like that's the kind of mentality. Like, they can't come to your house and slap you, bro. Like, what does that say about you as a man, as a player? Like, I feel like that's how
yeah, I
that's
swear.
how we
No, think
sold it to
about it.
them, bro.
Because they're playing every weekend, right? You're playing other competitions as well. It's like, okay, think about it. Okay, we lost that competition, but once we get home, we have to, like. Do you understand this change in mindset that
Yeah,
has to go
yeah,
on consistent? That's like, for me, that's the equivalent of a basketball team not losing at home for like 3 seasons or like 2 seasons. It's like,
bro.
okay, we just lost an away game, but then once we get home,
we
we
said
can't
nine
lose. Like,
years. You talk
no, but I'm saying in
nine
basketball,
years,
in
a
basketball,
decade,
because
Bro.
a decade.
I know, but
Basketball
basketball
is
is
one
like
season.
82 games. Like, I mean, you have like 41 games at home, right? So, like, it adds up. But I'm saying, for, yeah, I'm just that mentality of, okay, maybe we lost away, but then, because teams have bad runs, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, a team can be on like a terrible run and they just lose. Oh, you lose to Man U, and then you face another team the following week, like, and then you just getting battered and stuff like that. Those teams did not understand that,
Yeah, bro. Like, and
you know.
and and Mourinho, I'm sure Mourinho is sick of football today, man. I can't even lie, because you
Definitely.
see managers losing games they shouldn't be losing at home. You see managers say, yeah, we had a good game. There's one of those ones, bro. Imagine Mourinho in his prime losing a game like that, bro. Like, he's ready to fight anyone. Do you get? But I guess football has gone. Football has definitely gone soft. Like, everyone's trying to do tiki taka,
I
play
would like
sweet
to find
football.
the interview of when they broke the streak. I want to see what he would have said in the interview. He have said something very. Maybe that's where he said that I prefer not to speak. Maybe that's even where he said it. Because the guy was so pissed off.
And guy, the worst part about whenever that record was broken, I'm sure Mourinho looked at that game and was just like, "We should
Mhm.
not have lost this game." Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like someone didn't die on the line enough for
Well, I
this
just
record to
read.
have gone.
I just read something now. I don't know if it's correct, but this is ChatGPT info. Obviously, if it's not correct, you guys can correct me. But apparently, during that whole streak, he didn't really get many draws. It was mostly wins.
Yeah, I
Very,
mean,
very few
for sure,
draws.
for sure would have been
Very
mistake.
Yeah,
few.
probably those Moreno 1-0 wins, 2-0, 2-0,
Yeah, those
2-1.
pack the boss. That
Guy,
he
Like,
even
he
coined the
was
phrase "pack the boss" from
bro,
this period.
he was a specialist, bro. He was a specialist, bro.
yeah.
Like nah. But yeah, yeah. So, anyways, those are some amazing records. I won't even lie. Like again, some of these things, even though we've discussed it this way, might never be broken. I think we have one or two there that are likely to, but there's a very high chance, like the top two especially, probably will never be broken. But yeah, for you guys watching, let us know what you guys
Also,
think.
49 is not getting beaten. Yeah, it's just not on. But can continue.
Let us know what you guys think.
In the Premier League, sorry, because 51.
Invincible.
Yeah, but Bayern Leverkusen just did one in their league, no?
Saying he's claiming,
49.
he's going to claim Premier League.
49 is not a
Are you
season.
saying
49 is a
41?
In the
season
league,
and a half in
but
the
you're
in the
saying like
league.
just in the league, yeah.
Yeah, 49
But
is a season and a half of Premier League. So trust me, it's not easy.
yeah, I feel football has developed so much that it's going to be hard for you not to lose. Like you can be heads and shoulders above everyone and just have that off game and lose, which is why even the Arsenal unbeaten in a season, I don't think will get broken. Another thing that
In
came
the
close
Premier
to it,
League,
yeah, in Premier League,
no, it will get broken. It will not broken. You can't break
I don't,
something. It's unbeaten. You're
I
unbeaten.
mean
So
not broken, but like
it will
I
get
actually
equal.
don't
Yeah,
think,
definitely,
I don't think
definitely.
so. I
Don't
actually
worry.
don't think so.
I'll
Like
remind
I
you. I'll
feel like
buzz you. Arsenal
because
will do it
because
again. Don't worry. We'll discuss
guy,
about this on this pod.
leave this place now. Because here's the flip side of it, right? You're thinking about every top team in the league at that point. You're going to go away to the rest of the say top four teams, and you're not going to lose any of those games. You get what I'm saying? You're not going to have an off game to the likes of
Mm,
Crystal Palace. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, because when you're looking at the games like Arsenal, or I guess Arsenal, City, Liverpool have lost in the last 5 years, like there are a bunch of games that they should not be losing. But
true.
it's just with that off, you can't have an off day. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm,
And if you're having an off day as a team, then someone else is just going to show up. Again, I'm looking at it more from like the odds. You know, I don't think it's impossible, but the odds of that happening again, I just feel like they're low, sharp.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So yeah, let us know what you guys think about the records we discussed. If you think there's any record that we should be discussing that's as good as any of these, obviously, like comment, let us know. And yeah, Andrew, Tosin, anything to add from you guys?
Just like, share, press all the buttons, tell your friend, refer us to your friends. I think we had a conversation about the giveaway coming up soon. So just pay attention to our social media platforms for the giveaway info. Hopefully you win and you can, be happy about it.
Yeah, but also like you guys should give us your ranks in the comments as well. I think for the most part we're all in agreement, except I think the
The
one
three
where
and four is a bit
the three
different.
and four.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But outside of that, I think we all pretty much. And I'm surprised because I mean,
we
most times we
deserve
have, yeah, like
it.
it could have gone either way. But yeah, thank you guys for listening up until this point, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Yeah, peace, guys.